The story begins outside the city of Bellwood with a man named Kevin, who had gone to a warehouse to meet some people. Kevin was there to buy some items from them, and those people claimed that the items were a special kind of alien technology. As soon as Kevin picked up the tubes, he saw they contained several chips which were deactivated at the time. However, those men didn't know much about the chips either, so Kevin decided to call Gwen for more information. Soon, Gwen arrived with her brother Ben. Ben had a device called the Omnitrix, not a watch to tell time, but a gadget with special powers. It could transform Ben into different types of aliens, each with unique abilities. Ben soon realized that just standing near the chips caused some activity in the Omnitrix. Meanwhile, the man selling the technology was getting irritated as the deal was taking too long. He said he had never seen such strange buyers before. One of their companions, who was wearing a helmet, told him that these people were actually part of the Plumbers, an organization that protects Earth from alien threats. This surprised Ben, who wanted to know how that girl knew all this. The girl revealed that her name was Elena Validus and that she was once a plumber too, but had been expelled along with her father Victor. Unbeknownst to any of them, a mysterious man was watching them from a distance. Ben was shocked to see Elena because his grandfather Max had told him that Elena and her father had left the Plumbers voluntarily to go live somewhere far away. But Elena said that was not true. Ben was still trying to understand why Elena was involved with these shady dealers, to which she replied that she had only come there to meet him. She explained that her father Victor had been missing for several days, and despite all efforts, no one had been able to find him. Just then, the mysterious man began to control the chips, and they burst out of the tubes, attacking everyone present. Ben tried to use the Omnitrix to protect his friends, but it wasn't working due to the influence of the chips. The responsibility to stop the chips now fell on Kevin and Gwen. The sellers of the chips had no idea what was going on, so they panicked and ran away. But by then, the chips had started to destroy the entire building, and the group barely managed to escape. Later, when Ben closely examined one of the chips, he realized it must be a remotely controlled weapon that attacked like a dangerous insect. Then he saw the man standing nearby and became convinced that he was the one controlling the chips. Ben decided to stop him. He wanted to transform into an alien named Spider Monkey using the Omnitrix, but for some reason, it didn't work properly, and he ended up turning into Big Chill instead. Using Big Chill's freezing powers, he gathered all the chips into one place and shattered them into thousands of pieces. After that, Ben ran toward the man to attack him, but the man dodged and threw a swarm of insects at Gwen. Ben had to rush back to save her, and taking advantage of the distraction, the man escaped. Elena was also gone by the time they looked around, leading Kevin and Gwen to believe that she was behind all this. But Ben still believed Elena was not involved and was determined to find out the truth, why Elena and her father Victor had been expelled from the Plumbers. To get answers, he went straight to his grandfather Max. But Max was not at the communication center, so the three of them decided to test the chips while they waited. They discovered that the chips weren't entirely technological. Each contained a living insect fused with machinery. To investigate further, Gwen tried using her magical powers, but they had no effect on the chip. Kevin then decided to analyze it using a computer, but the process was going to take some time. Ben suggested using that time to find Elena, but Gwen strongly disagreed, leading to an argument between them. Their argument continued until Max finally arrived. As soon as Max saw the chips, he said he had seen them before, but couldn't remember where. Seizing the opportunity, Ben asked him about Elena and Victor. But before Max could respond, a warning alarm went off. Someone was trying to break into the center. Following the signal, they rushed to Max's office, where Elena was already waiting for them. Seeing Elena, Max told her to leave immediately. But Ben stood up for her and told Max about Victor's disappearance, which he believed was caused by the same man who had attacked them. However, the others still didn't trust Elena, so Kevin escorted her out so Max could speak to Ben and Gwen alone. Max then showed them Victor's file on the computer and revealed that Victor had been expelled from the Plumbers because he was caught stealing alien chips. Even after seeing the file, Ben believed Elena had nothing to do with it, and that she was the only way to reach the man responsible. Max, however, didn't believe a word she said, so Ben decided to move forward on his own terms. He took Max's bike and left with Elena to track down the mysterious man. They quickly headed toward the place where Elena had first found the chips. Meanwhile, late at night, Victor was walking alone on a deserted road when two men stopped him, telling him it wasn't safe to walk alone at night. But Victor replied that he wasn't alone. As he said that, he released a swarm of insects from under his coat to attack the men. Back with Ben and Elena, they had no idea Victor was already waiting for them. As they reached the location, they started investigating the area. Meanwhile, outside the building, Victor was loading thousands of chips into a truck belonging to a company called SurePit. Despite the activity, Ben and Elena were unaware and continued searching Victor's lab. They found several documents, including a delivery form for SurePit. Before they could make sense of anything, they encountered some unfamiliar people who claimed they wanted to help. But Ben noticed something odd about their eyes, and Elena told him that chips were inside their bodies too, somehow controlling them. One of the men said he wanted to introduce them to their queen. The group slowly began to close in on them. Ben tried to activate the Omnitrix again, but it didn't work due to the nearby chips. They had no choice but to flee. As they exited through the fire escape, they realized they were surrounded. So Ben overpowered the Omnitrix and launched an attack that knocked the controlled people back. Taking advantage of the opportunity, they jumped on their bikes and escaped. However, Elena's bike slipped, and Ben had to go back and pick her up on his own bike. After escaping, Ben told Elena that they now needed to get to the SurePit office as soon as possible, because the next clue to the mystery was likely to be found there. Back at the center, Kevin and Gwen had finally tracked down the energy signature of the chips. They discovered that the highest concentration of this energy was at the SurePit distribution center. They immediately decided to go there. But upon arrival, they found the center completely abandoned. Still, they continued searching for clues and found delivery receipts for packages sent all over the world. Suddenly, a man working at the center saw them and told them to leave immediately. They were confused about why someone was working there so late. When questioned, the man responded that he was serving his queen and that for her, time didn't matter, day or night, it made no difference. As soon as they heard the man's response, both of them realized that he too was under the influence of those chips. So, Kevin transformed his hand into a wooden hammer and with a single punch, threw the man out of the window. After that, the two of them gathered all the slips and got back into their car. But just then, they noticed that same employee again, doing something strange with his hands. When they looked around, they immediately understood that the man was preparing the chips to attack them. The very next second, all those chips began attacking them. Kevin tried to drive away from there, but the chips transformed into 3 huge balls and began chasing their car at high speed. To escape them, Kevin swerved his car and smashed into one of the balls, destroying it. But in the next moment, the ball reassembled itself. Now, Kevin had no other option but to outrun them with sheer speed, so he activated the turbo mode of his car. But even that didn't help, the balls were still chasing them. So, Kevin led them to an open field, where he even tried crushing the balls with his car. However, in the process, the car flipped over. When they got out of the vehicle, the chips were still hovering over them and had now joined together to form one giant ball. To confront it, Kevin turned his body into iron. But just then, Ben arrived, transformed into an alien called Humongosaur. With one powerful punch, Ben destroyed the giant ball. However, the chips began changing form repeatedly and attacking him with lasers. But due to Humongosaur's thick skin, Ben didn't suffer much damage. Even though Ben kept attacking them again and again, the chips continued transforming and returning to fight. Seeing an opportunity, Ben used Kevin's car to attack the chips, which destroyed all of them at once. With the danger averted, Ben returned to his normal form. Afterward, they decided to analyze a new sample back in the lab. They took Elena and went straight to Ben's grandpa Max, who at that time was monitoring news about these high-tech bugs spreading around the world. After listening to everything, Max analyzed the new samples and discovered that the chips had actually come from space. Once the analysis was done, Max placed all the chips back into their container. But unknowingly, one chip was left outside. The group then began searching for a way to resolve this crisis. That's when Ben thought of the queen of the chips. He believed that if they could destroy the queen, the rest of the chips wouldn't function without her command. But during all this, no one noticed the chip that was roaming freely. And finding the queen wasn't going to be easy either, so they all started gathering more information using computers. Meanwhile, the loose chip quietly climbed onto Max's hand. A little while later, when Ben went to ask Max a question, Max suddenly tried to attack him. Instantly, Ben realized that Max was now under the control of the chip queen. Hearing Ben's shouts, the others rushed in. Kevin quickly knocked Max unconscious from behind. But while they were discussing what to do next, Max turned on a smoke machine, filling the room with thick fog that made it impossible to see anything. Taking advantage of the chaos, Max managed to escape. With Max gone, none of them knew how to proceed. But Ben kept his cool and urged everyone to focus on the mission. They used the computers to track the queen's location by studying the energy emissions from the chips. They discovered that a large number of chips were concentrated in one place. Based on this, they calculated that the queen might be there. Gwen told everyone that this location was also the distribution center for the ShipIt company. Upon hearing this, Ben became convinced that the queen was hiding there. But they needed a vehicle to get there, and Kevin's car had already been destroyed. So, Kevin decided to give Ben his birthday gift early, a special car he had been building for months. All of them got into the car and headed toward their destination. When they reached the ShipIt center, they saw hundreds of workers there, all under the control of the queen. After confirming their suspicion, they moved forward and spotted Max working alongside the other controlled individuals. Unfortunately, they couldn't save Max at that moment, so they decided to move on. After going further inside, they reached a large room packed with people, and among them was Victor. Seeing him, Kevin realized that it was Victor who had attacked them in the ruins that day. Now, they even started doubting Elena, suspecting that she might be working with her father. But Elena insisted she knew nothing about it. She argued, "Even your grandpa is working for the queen. Does that mean he's teamed up with my dad?" There was some truth in her words because Victor was behaving exactly like Max. Still, Kevin didn't fully trust Elena. Ben stepped in to calm everyone down and went to observe Victor. That's when he noticed that Victor was laying eggs, which meant the queen was inside him. Upon learning this, Kevin felt they should eliminate Victor too. But Elena immediately began begging for her father's life. This reminded Ben of the promise he made to her, that he would return her father safely. So, he decided to use the Omnitrix to transform into Alien X and take on the queen. However, Gwen tried to stop him. She warned that this was extremely dangerous. If the queen somehow took control of Ben, saving Earth would be impossible. While they were still discussing this, someone suddenly grabbed Elena, exposing their presence to everyone there. Seeing the danger closing in, Ben finally decided to activate the Omnitrix. But due to interference from the chips, it didn't work as intended. Instead of turning into the massive Alien X, he transformed into a different alien called Nanomech, a fusion of human and nanochip. Ben shrank himself and flew straight toward Victor. Quietly, he entered Victor's body through his nose. Inside, he began hearing the queen's voice. Meanwhile, the rest of the team was fighting outside. Alone inside Victor's body, Ben battled the queen, who was doing everything possible to take control of his mind. Her plan was to wipe out all of humanity in one strike, and to do that, she had activated all her chips. But Ben gathered all his strength and launched one final attack, completely destroying the queen's body. Soon, all the affected people returned to their senses, and the rest of the chips were also destroyed on their own. Ben exited Victor's body. Max praised him and apologized to Victor for not trusting him when it mattered most. After this, Max proposed making Ben the new chief of the plumbers. But Ben immediately declined, saying, "Grandpa, you're not that old yet. It's not time for you to retire. Help us for a few more years, okay?" In the end, Elena and Victor also agreed to join the team and work alongside them. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.